All right. Hey, everybody. Michael Batiste from the Elk Calling Academy. I know it's Tuesday night, but actually tomorrow night I am traveling. So instead of Wapiti Wednesday Q&A on Wednesday, I thought I would sneak on tonight and do our Wapiti Wednesday Q&A tonight. So we are doing something new tonight. I am broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube, both live at the same time. So I will, monitor both chats. So if you guys have questions, no matter which one you guys are on, go ahead and put questions in the comment section. So tonight we are going to talk about broadheads, sights, and gear for elk hunting. Mr. Bob Morgan, how you doing, bud? So this past weekend I was over in Etna, Wyoming at Archery Unlimited, where did a seminar. Part of that seminar, we did some broadhead testing. It was pretty interesting. We took 6 broadheads. We had QAD Exodus. Mr. Martin, how you doing, bud? So QAD Exodus, we had Tooth of the Arrow, we had Grim Reaper, Whack-'em 4-blade, Slick Trick, and Ram Cat Diamondback. And so what we did is we did a couple of tests on these. So Lynn, how you doing? So first test we did was we had everybody off to the side. We got back and shot these broadheads at 40 yards. Everybody was kind of standing about the 20-yard mark off to the side. So definitely could hear that arrow, on its path. And at that point, everybody kind of voted and judged on the quietest, which one made the least amount of noise, in flight. So as far as the quiet test goes, the QAD Exodus was voted the quiet head unanimously out of everybody. Everybody said that was the quietest head. Next thing that we did was, Keith, no, my area is not on fire. So there's some fires kind of around it. So, but no, the actual hunting area is not burning. So, okay. So after we did the sound test, we took the broadheads and we screwed them onto a Easton axis, and we didn't have any bones to shoot through. So what we did was we took some cultured stone rocks and hung those on the target and shot the broadheads into that cultured stone just to see, how each one would fare, how durable. Now I understand that that cultured stone rock doesn't act the same as bone, but you know what? If a broadhead can survive going into that cultured stone rock, just imagine that it's going to be durable enough to punch through bone if you do happen to hit through bone on your shot. So here's what we found. So the true cut-on contact broadheads, which basically means the ferrule, the head, or the blades, everything were one piece. Those fared really, really well. The couple of broadheads that had replaceable blades, we noticed that the replaceable blades broke. But all 6 of the heads, the ferrule was straight. The point, for the most part on most of them, came out pretty dang good. So what we kind of took from this is any broadhead that has a steel ferrule on it survived really, really well. The QAD Exodus, came out with just some minimal effects on the blades. Something that looked like you could certainly resharpen and use. The Tooth of the Arrow performed really, really well. The Grim Reaper, even though one blade broke, everything else on that head looked in really, really good shape. So, me personally, I started shooting the Grim Reaper, started shooting the QAD Exodus last year. Great flight, great penetration. The bull that I harvested last year, he was down with, under 3 seconds. He was down quick. The tooth of the arrow, guys, actually really impressed me. So you are going to notice on that head, it is a 4-blade head. It is only a 1-inch cutting diameter, so it's a smaller head. But really, if you guys think about it, if you're punching a 1-inch hole through something, it's going to bleed. It's going to have an effect. The other thing that I noticed with that small head is, because I shot it a little bit on Friday, shot it some more on Saturday while I was over there, shot it in some fairly windy conditions. And the thing I noticed is that smaller head performed really, really well in the wind. It wasn't affected much at all with that wind. So yeah, that's kind of some of the broadhead testing. I did Friday, I think I screwed on the Q80 Exodus, the Grim Reaper, and the Tooth of the Arrow, because like I said, I wanted to kind of really pit those 3 against each other, and I got back at longer yardages, 60, 70 yards. All 3 of those heads flew and performed really, really well. I didn't have any planing issues, but I shoot, a fairly, heavy arrow. I'm up pretty close to, 500 grains. I'm shooting 266 feet per second. I do only shoot a 65-pound bow. So, but no planing issues. Flight was really, really good. Really good spin. So I know broadheads are personal preference, but definitely for you guys, definitely choose a head that has a steel ferrule to it. I know there's been, a lot of discussion. I posted, pictures of this broadhead test and what the heads and arrows look like after they went through, that cultured stone rock. So it is over on my Facebook page. So if you guys want to go take a look at that picture, kind of give you an idea about how, some of those fared. So, but those are just kind of some top heads based on testing that I would do. I did do some testing last year with a 2-blade single bevel. I know there's a lot of people that are fans of them. Sorry guys, I'm not a huge fan of a 2-blade single bevel. Again, personal preference. If you like to shoot a 2-blade single bevel and it performs well out of your setup and you have confidence in it, that's the key right there, having confidence in your setup. But some of you guys that are maybe looking for other broadheads or some new broadheads, definitely check out Q80 Exodus, Tooth of the Arrow, and the Grim Reaper 4-blade. So, all right. Okay, sights. I get asked a lot what sight I shoot. I've been a single pin guy for years. I like the single pin. I like the sight picture it gives. But the other thing too is when you have a single pin with just that vertical post, you can actually take that vertical post and put that right on the back side of that front leg. And it really helps with it, whether you're cantering your bow or torquing your bow or anything like that. The other reason I choose a single pin sight is my average shot on elk is only 22, 23 yards of all the elk I've ever taken. So, why do I need 5 pins or 7 pins? I got into archery to see how close I could get to elk, not to take long shots. Now, if I've got one arrow in a bull at close and he's still on his feet and I can get a second arrow in at longer yardages, great. The advantage of that is I can adjust that. Lance, single pin for years. Yeah, the sight picture that you guys get with single pin. Now, the thing I do with my single pin is when I go out hunting, I set that pin at 30 yards. And then I do Kentucky windage. Hold high or hold low, whether it's 20 or 40 yards. Usually, if an animal is 40 yards or farther out, you have time to range and dial in. But like I said, I'm here to get them close. Eric Nelson, rage. We can't shoot mechanicals in Idaho. They're illegal. I've never shot a mechanical blade other than just kind of messing around. I like that fixed cut on contact head just because that's what's legal here for big game. And it's just, I don't have to worry about anything not opening. I don't have to worry about anything failing. So Justin Nelson, how you doing? Or Jason also. Jason, how you doing, bud? Lance, yes, close, not far. Exactly. I mean, get close enough to smell their breath, get close enough to smell them, maybe get peed on. The thing is there's that debate out there. What really takes more skill? Shooting an elk at 90 yards or shooting an elk at 9? Because you did everything to get into that 9-yard range. Now, whether that's spot and stock or calling them into 9 yards, I know it definitely takes a skill set for longer yardages, but there's too much that can happen. I mean, that animal takes one step, and at 90 yards, one step, you may have that pin buried in the pocket, but now all of a sudden you're paunch shot, if not in the butt. So too many things that can happen, the kinetic energy that's lost. Again, I know personal preference. If you want to shoot long yardages and you successfully take animals, that's great. Me personally, I want to see how close I can get. So, the other thing with getting close to, there's that whole adrenaline, excitement, and this and that. It's a lot more adrenaline rush when they're 6 yards screaming their head off than, long ways out there. I'm all for 60 yards, but I lost a 6x7 at 12 yards. Stuff happens. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's still shot placement. You still have to execute the shot. I mean, I'm not saying that things can't happen at close range. It certainly can. I mean, we're dealing with wild animals. Things certainly do happen, but the margin for error is a lot less at closer yardages. Now, what single pin? I own the Spot Hog, Tommy Hog. I've owned the Hog Father. I've owned the Fast Eddie double pin. I've shot the HHA Kingpin. I've shot, Trophy Ridge React single pin. There's a lot of great single pin sights out on the market. The key thing is look at the components that it's made of. Elk live in rugged country. There's a lot of brush. There's a lot of things that can happen. So, granted, going with a good quality sight that is made out of, a little better materials. Yeah, the weight's going to be a little bit more. But you know what? I've had it in past with another site. I'm not going to mention names that, we worked through some brush and got on the other side, started working a bull, and I knocked an arrow, and I looked down and my pin is curved over like this. That brush bent that over. I was able to straighten it back up, but I was pretty lucky that it didn't snap. So, yeah, bring a spare on backcountry hunts. Robert, I always have a spare sight in camp. I always have backup pieces. You have to. All right. What other gear do you guys want to talk about? Gentry Batiste, how you doing, buddy? Okay. Eric. Live. This is awesome. Gentry, you want to talk about bows. Okay. Bows. Here's the biggest thing I can say on bows, and the biggest piece of advice is if you are shopping for a new bow, pick your price point. Go into your archery shop that's local and say you want to shoot every bow that they have within your price point from the different manufacturers. because oh my God, you guys are throwing all kinds of subjects. I love this. So, each bow is different. The way the handle is, the way the draw cycle is, the way the valley is, the way the back wall is, everything is different. So by you shooting every bow from different manufacturers that's within your price point, in essence, you're not choosing the bow is actually choosing you. So, I've shot a few different bows over the years. I've shot Bowtech, I've shot Hoyt, I've shot Matthews, I've shot PSE. So currently, right now, I've been shooting the PSE for the last couple of years. This year, I'm shooting the PSE Carbon Stealth. Really, really enjoying the way this bow is shooting. Draw cycle feels really, really good. The wall, everything about it feels really good. About a month ago, I did have an opportunity to shoot the Obsession Fixation XP. I was really, really impressed with that bow. It's one of the more comfortable handles that I felt on a bow in a really long time. Draw cycle was good. So, and you guys may find that you may get to, get to a part where it's kind of a tough choice, where you've got a couple of bows that, you like everything about. And at that point, just sit there and shoot both of them, several shots, and see how it's going to feel. If you're looking for a 70-pound bow and all they have is a 60-pound, you might want to wait until they get a 70-pound version of that bow in the shop and then come back and shoot it, because it may feel a lot different at 70 pounds. So, we all work hard for our money. These are big investments in this equipment, and a lot of times, we're keeping this stuff for multiple years. So it's going to be hard pressed that if you make a snap decision and all of a sudden, 2 weeks down the road or a month down the road, you're not liking that bow. Well, you're either stuck with it or you sell it for less than you paid for, and then you pull more money out of your pocket to go buy another one. So definitely take your time when selecting a bow. Don't rush it. So, Robert, some bows have comfort settings and performance settings like Bowtech. Yeah, there are bows that do have multiple different settings. Eric, I bought an extra bow. Cabela's $399 and set up. Honestly, if my PTX goes down, feel good with it. Yeah, and if you do upgrade, definitely keep the other bow as a backup bow. It's not a bad thing to do. So, all right, Lance, I personally shot black gold. Black gold makes great sights. So does Spot Hog. Yeah, I'm a fan of Spot Hog. Eric Nelson, releases. I shoot a thumb release. I shoot the Knock to It from old Dudley, which is basically a Carter release. It is mostly a 2-finger with a small little tab for a 3-finger. But that 3rd finger is really, really light touch on it. The thing with T releases, a lot of times, if you guys are going to shoot a T release, a thumb release, make sure that your D loop is long enough that when you come up and anchor and rotate that hand, it's not putting torque on the string. If you try to shoot a D loop that is too short, when you rotate that hand, you are going to put torque on that string when you're drawn back. So thumb shooters, definitely shoot a little bit longer. Again, that's releases are, guys, that's one thing that's cool about this, all the different combinations with personal preference. I kind of treat releases kind of like bows, where you got to shoot a few different ones to see which one kind of fits you, whether if it's a regular release, whether you like a straight trigger or a swooped trigger, whereabouts, what you're doing with your hand, whether it's really, really relaxed. Do you have to really stretch that finger out to get it? Is there adjustability on it? Materials made in it? the strap. The wrist strap is one of those things that comfort is ultimately important. Reason I shoot a thumb release is one thing I noticed when I shot a traditional release is, sometimes you would get that slip on the wrist strap, and maybe every time it's not that consistent where it sits on the wrist, when drawn back and anchoring, things may change just a little bit. With that thumb release, it pretty much is pretty consistent every time. Back tension releases or hinge releases, I have played around with those. I don't know if I would ever hunt with one. At one point, I did actually, the Scott Longhorn Hex I was playing with, and the Scott Longhorn. I just don't have enough confidence in that hinge release. But again, it's personal preference. I do know a couple of guys that do hunt with hinge releases. The other thing, you always hear horror stories with hinge releases about punching yourself in the nose or the eye or sending the arrow over the mountaintop. Again, it's one of those things that you just got to play with and religiously practice with. I saw something else. Lance, wicking undergarments. My probably favorite base layer is merino wool. Merino wool is an exceptional wicking base layer, but it's also antimicrobial. It stops the stinkiness. I mean, we're out there sweating quite a bit. We're working hard. So anything that can wick moisture and mask my scent just a little bit, I'm all for it. The other nice thing about merino wool is you can wear them early in the season just as a layer by itself. As the season progresses, then maybe throw a vest over the top of it. And then later in the season, a light jacket. Use it as that whole layering system that you can build up throughout the season. There's some good systems out there. As far as those systems, it's whatever your budget can afford. So I'm not going to sit here and say that one's better than the other, because it really depends on, what you can afford. But I will definitely say this: get the best that you can afford. Now, one thing that I see is people will get some of these systems and they don't use the system the right way, or they'll match, synthetics with merinos and this and that. There's a reason that these companies have these full systems. The other thing I see a lot is, people will sit there and say, well, that's not affordable, but this is affordable. Okay, you can't sit here and compare a merino wool or synthetic system to a full cotton blend system. It's two completely different materials. They don't behave the same, and that's why the price point is different on them. That's why you pay a little bit more money for these systems. But if you get one of these systems and you get caught out there in a weather front or this or that, and you have one of these systems, it does make all the difference in the world. So bow hunting brought me out of depression, leaving the service. That's awesome. So I've been a Matthews fan for years, but I shot a Darton last year when I upgraded. That's the route. Dang it. I'm not really angry, Mike. I don't know why it's choosing that. I'm trying to read the rest of your message. So, oh well. Yeah, so you've been a Matthews guy for a year. You shot a Darton and just really liked the way it felt. So that's the thing. I mean, don't just be brand specific or stuck on what your buddies shoot or this or that. They might like something different. So definitely shoot. In fact, Lance, as a dealer, I've often advised people to try bows. And Lance, that's one great thing. Lance is a shop owner. So here's a shop owner that's not necessarily just ramming a single brand down your throat. If you go into a shop and you want to shoot different bows, but they just are just taking you to one brand, is that really the shop that you want to deal with, and do they really have your best interest in mind? Or is it that maybe they get a bonus if they sell X number of bows from, that dealer? So Matt, love my Carter. Sean Macbeth, how you doing? Kings has treated me well, but I hunt Washington and no need for other stuff. Think about that, fellas. Kings does make really good stuff. I've actually worn Kings for years. Zach, you got all the you got the elk starter kit. Perfect. All right, let's jump here. Jeremy Harker wants to know about packs. I do actually have a couple of videos coming up, guys. Friday, I am meeting with Blacks Creek Guide Gear. Sandy and I are going to get on camera. We are going to talk about all of the pack system within Blacks Creek. They do have a new kind of modular system that's really, really cool, that everything put together can be as low as 2,000 cubic inches or go all the way up to 6,000. Plus, the cool thing about that 6,000 system is once you get into the backcountry, you can detach the main pack, zip it up in the tree on a bear line, and now you only have a 2,000 cubic inch day pack for when you're hunting back there in the backcountry. And then when you're getting ready to come back out, put that big bag back on, but you also have place for your meat and stuff. I also am going to get with Initial Ascent. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. They're a fairly new pack company that does have a modular system as well. I'm going to try to get with them next week, film with them. I also have reached out to Eberly Stock, and I'm also going to get a hold of Steve Speck and go in and talk about the XO. So I will have a few videos coming up on different pack systems, kind of features, kind of things that set each of their lines apart. But also what I'm going to do with each of these guys is we are going to do a bit on how to properly fit a pack for your body. I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't really understand, is how to properly fit a pack. And so they may not be getting the most out of a pack that they can. I still do have right over here, I have the Badlands, the Sacrifice LS that I've kind of been field testing a little bit on some scouting trips so far this year. And I will be sitting down doing a review on that pack as well. So Jeremy, if there's something specific you want to know about packs, throw it into the chat and I'll see if I can answer that for you. Mike Boyd, Hex Suit. I do own 3 sets of the Hex. I have worn them ever since Mike came out with them. The thing about the Hex suits, do I think they block your electromagnetic field? Yes, I do. But the key thing is it's a complete system. With the Hex suit, you need to be all in. And everybody you're hunting with needs to be in on that as well too. It doesn't do any good if there's 2 or 3 of you out in the woods hunting together and one of you is wearing the Hex suit and the other 2 are not. So it's kind of got to be an all in, all done. I have seen things with animal behavior when I've been wearing it that kind of contributes to my belief that it does block that electromagnetic field. So let's see, back over here, Carl, broadheads. Also, I'm shooting 60 pounds, 27-inch draw. Any advice on arrow choice? Carl, I actually talked about broadheads right at the get-go of this. Did some field testing last week. Kind of some of the ones that were the top performers were the Q80 Exodus, the Tooth of the Arrow, and the Grim Reaper 4-blade. As far as arrow choice, biggest thing is refer to the arrow charts and make sure that you have a properly spined arrow for your bow and your draw length. Arrows, I shoot the Black Eagle X Impact. I like that nano diameter. It's a great tough arrow. It's not affected by wind. But I would like to see a little more grains per inch on it for maybe just a little bit heavier. 60 pound, 27 inch, kind of shooting a little heavier arrow is going to kind of help you with kinetic energy and movement and getting into vitals and breaking bone if you happen to. You ever test a hex suit? Thoughts? Oh, we just talked about that. Mr. Larry, hello. Robert Davis, how about game bags and care? Robert, actually, we talked about game bags a couple of weeks ago. So if you go over to the Elk Calling Academy YouTube channel. So also on the Facebook page, I did post an article, I think it was from 2015, where an individual did some testing with different game bags, different materials. He left meat sitting in there for several days, and he came back each day, looked at the color of the meat, smelt the meat. The thing that he found was the synthetic game bags. The meat didn't spoil as fast. I think he made it to 10 days, I think, with the synthetic bags, where canvas went really, really quick, and strong ammonia smell, started getting a lot of discoloration. So synthetic game bags, make sure that the bags are breathable. If you want to test a game bag, pour water in it. If the bag holds water, it's not breathing. That's trapping all the heat. That's trapping all the moisture. That's trapping all the blood. It's not letting any of that out. You want a bag that is breathable. So there's a lot of new bags on the market that are made out of ripstop material. Find one that is non-treated ripstop, so that way those holes are open and will allow it to breathe. Carl, sorry I hopped on late. Thank you for the advice. Heading to Colorado in a few weeks, trying to get my ducks in a row. Oh, no need to say sorry. So no, ask for questions. Yeah, broadheads. And also, Carl, if you go to our Facebook page, I posted a picture of those broadheads that we ended up shooting into some cultured stone rocks, and you'll see that picture of how each of those broadheads survived going into that. I've used Blacks Creek for about a decade. Sandy makes some awesome packs. Yes, Blacks Creek does make really good packs. I've used Everly stock as well in the past, and those are good as well. Especially, kind of excited to see some of their new stuff. Thing with Everly stock in the past is they were really, really heavy, but they've lightened it up quite a bit. So take care, my fellow elk slayers. T-minus 40 days. Yes, season is coming fast, guys. That's awesome. I'd like to know more about the XO packs. Yeah, I'm hoping to get these videos, guys. I know system is coming really, really fast. I did film the video this last weekend on the Mummy Pod sleep system. Hard part was I didn't have anybody with me, so the camera was just stationary. I really want to refilm that video when, one of my hunting partners are with me, so that they can run the camera and really get up close on some of this stuff to really show you guys really how to hang this sleep system and how everything goes together. So I might get it done before Friday. If not, like I said, I'm filming with Sandy on Thursday. Hopefully get that video edited, exported real quick, and that might be the video for Friday. Okay, David, first aid kit. Yeah, there's a lot of options. Just a small little basic first aid kit that doesn't take up a lot of room is something really, really good. And in fact, David, if you go to my YouTube channel, look for a video that's called Elk Hunter Starter Kit. Within that kit, it's basically more like a kill kit. And I kind of explain everything that I carry, in that kill kit, and you'll actually see everything that's in there. But yeah, the first aid kit, there's a few different manufacturers out there. You don't need a ton of stuff. I mean, in my truck, I have a fully stocked EMT bag, but in my pack, I have a small basic first aid kit with gauze and bandages, aspirin, stuff like that, just so I can do a little bit of basic stuff in backcountry. Eric Nelson, Valkyrie system. I have talked to Brent quite a bit about the Valkyrie center pin system. It makes sense to me with that front of center. If you guys have ever played darts before with a regular dart, not the plastic tip dart, but a true pub dart that's metal, where is all the weight on that? It's out in the front. There's a lot of discussion on that. You'll hear, oh, this arrow is driving that broadhead. And in fact, there is a podcast that Brent did on Gritty Bowman, where they really talked about that front of center and kind of, explained about tying a string to a rock. And really it's that rock pulling the string. So, again, personal preference. I am a believer in what Brent is doing with the Valkyrie system. I've talked to Brent quite a bit, like I said, at shows and on the phone. And actually, I am really considering about switching to the Valkyrie system next year. One of the things that really excites me is the 3-to-1 ratio on the broadhead. If you guys, don't understand the advantage of the 3-to-1, it's not going to make that big a difference with the 3-to-1 on a broadside shot. But if you're shooting quartering away or angled shots, how a short, steep, angled broadhead can kind of skip, that 3-to-1 system makes a lot better decision. I know Chris Dunlap did a 29 broadhead test and review. You can look his channel up on YouTube and watch that video. And he did include some of the Valkyrie system in that testing if you want more information about kind of how those function. I've heard it's awesome for elk, but it's a whole system, and deer is not as good. Kind of curious, why would you say it's not as good on deer if it's effective for elk but not for deer? I mean, it's still gonna punch through and get you, 2 holes. 2 holes is better than 1. That's double the amount of blood coming out. So Michael Olson, how do you feel about caribou game bags? Ted and the crew makes good stuff. It's one of those top-notch synthetic. Another synthetic bag that's good is the tag bags. So I've used some different. I've used caribou gear in the past. I've used the tag bags for a year. Right now I'm using the 6 a.m. game bags. There was actually goat gear game bags that I really, really like the material in the goat gear. It's just space. That's why I like some of these newer bags. A lot lighter weight, take up a lot less room, and still get that ability to allow the meat to breathe. So David Ketchell, bear encounters. I've had a lot of bear encounters, both with grizzlies and black bears. It's just like anything. If you respect them, a lot of times they are more afraid of you than you are of them. But if you get them into a situation where they don't have an escape route, asking for trouble, or you get in between a sow and her cub. So biggest thing to do is while you're moving around, while you're hunting, really, really be aware of your surroundings. We've had bears come into our setups when we've been calling. We've had mountain lions come into our setups. So, but really, really being aware of your surroundings. A lot of times you can see them before they see you. And that's why, I carry a pistol with me when I'm hunting. I carry a Smith & Wesson 40 M&P. It's always on me at all times, especially when we have an elk on the ground and we are, breaking it down for packing. So Jeremy, how you doing? Tony Walker, howdy. Face paint, face mask, beard, or no face cover at all. Do elk see your face? Dwayne, I'm not a fan of face masks. So just because of the way I anchor with, my hand in the corner of my jaw, the string on my nose, also that string kind of touching the corner of my mouth, that 3-point anchor system, face masks just get in the way. Face paint. I used to not be a fan of face paint because it seemed like if it went on easy, it came off easy. You know, when you're sweating, rubbing, brush, other stuff would last longer. But then when you got back to camp, you almost had to get a sandblaster out to get it off. So I've been really, really impressed with Nature's Paint from everything I've tested with it so far. Nature's Paint is the face paint that I do carry now. Another one that I like is Dead Downwind. Dead Downwind has a black, green, and brown 3-color that you take the cap off and you have the 3 colors. It's really, really quick. Do I get extravagant with the designs on my face? No. All you're trying to do is break up. So as you can see, the light shining on my cheeks, our nose, our forehead, and our cheeks are shiny areas. Underneath our eyes are shadowy areas. So with face paint, rule of thumb that you remember is dark colors on shiny areas and light color in shadowed areas. But you do want to leave a little bit of white. Really, I grew the beard to kind of break that up. Nice advantage is as I'm getting older, I'm getting more and more white in there. So I'm starting to get black and gray and brown and white. And I guess my beard's kind of forming its own little camo pattern. But no, I've had elk close by with absolutely nothing on my face except for the beard and haven't had an issue with it. You know, most of the time in the setups, I'm set up in a shady area. So I don't have the direct sunlight. So those shiny facial features really aren't that big a deal. Any suggestions for charging a phone? I'll be 4 miles in and use Onyx Hunt Maps a lot, but I know my phone won't stay charged for 8 days. You know, Cameron, there's a lot of small little battery banks that you can get. In fact, there's a couple of them. You can go onto Amazon and do a search for you know, portable phone chargers, and there's a couple that are about the same size as your phone. They have a little carabiner on it. You can clip that on the outside of your pack, so that way when you're walking around and the sunlight's hitting that, it's charging that internal battery bank on that. And when your phone starts to kind of die a little bit, maybe you're taking a break to eat some lunch, go ahead and plug your phone in and just let that recharge your phone. And something small like that. Gold Zero makes some really good products. Again, it's kind of that small little solar blanket that you can put on the outside of. Last I heard. Okay. Sean, I love my Go Gear game bags. Yeah, they're great bags. They're phenomenal for weight and, you know, breathability. I heard it wasn't as fast for deer. Again, sorry, I'm new to archery. You know, that's the thing. Okay, speed is not always a good thing, guys. Especially you start attaching your broadhead onto an arrow, and with speed, you can start getting into planing issues. So, you know, there's a few theories out there. Light, fast arrow or heavy, slower arrow. Me personally, I'm more interested in the heavy, slower arrow. You know, just I want something that's going to hit hard. I want something that's going to punch through bone if I don't happen to hit the perfect spot on that shot. So if you're shooting a light, fast arrow, the chance of a ricochet or it deflecting direction, even if it hits the side of the rib, if your arrow is not heavy enough, it's going to deflect. And now instead of hitting double lung, you could get near lung and paunch hit, which could turn into a very, very long day of tracking for you, and could result in a lost animal. So, you know, typically on the speed, if you're anywhere, you know, 260 to 275 range feet per second, that's kind of a good range to be in as far as speed on an arrow. The thing with speed, guys, is if you're not that great at judging yardage, speed's going to overcome that. So you're not going to have to be as critical. But again, you run that risk of being too light and having deflected. What's your thought on wasp boss broadheads on elk? Vincent, I've never shot the Wasp Boss, so I really can't give a personal opinion on it. I mean, guys, if I could, I would grab every broadhead on the market and just do major broadhead testing. But like a lot of you guys know, I pay for everything that I test and review. As we grow, and you guys have been great supporting us and sharing us with people and helping us grow. So as we grow, it might open up a lot more doors and a lot more opportunities for more equipment and more abilities to, test a lot of this stuff and really, really help you guys. But Vincent, what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of research on that broadhead, maybe check around with guys that have shot it and try to get some information, and I'll get back to you on that. So, Jeremy, 556 grain Black Eagle Spartans. Jeremy, what's your speed with that? That's a great weight on that setup. So, all right, let's see. Great advice on the face paint. Ethan, did I miss the broadhead conversation? Yeah, Ethan, we hit broadheads right off the get-go. Rav Power. Where'd that go? Cameron, somebody is saying that Rav Power is a really good system for charging your phone in the backcountry. 282. Not too bad. Yeah. Jeremy, 282 with 556 grains. Not bad at all. You're kind of in that, what I think is the optimum speed and optimum weight for a deadly combination that should produce some good complete pass-throughs and punches for you. What is your cooking system for backcountry? Include your thoughts on Mountain House versus personal dehydrated food. Great job tonight. This is good stuff. David, thank you. Backcountry cooking system. I have a couple. I have the Jet Boil and Primus. So both the Primus and the Jet Boil have worked really, really well for me in the past. Both of them boil water quickly. I tend to use the Primus a little bit more. I don't know why. They're both good. Mountain House versus personal dehydrated food. If you have the ability to dehydrate your own, that is the better way to go, because then you control the serving size, you control the spices. And in fact, I still plan on doing that video, guys, where I talk about, an option on the dehydrated side of it to kind of create your own meals where you guys can kind of control those. Mountain House, I use them every year. My favorites are beef stroganoff, chicken and dumplings, chili mac. Those are just kind of, some of my personal favorites. In fact, that's one thing that we did in the seminar this past weekend is we got out the Jet Boil and got out some Mountain House packs and just, made a bunch of those and let people, eat them. Oh, VC Performance biscuits and gravy. You're talking my breakfast favorite right there. I just wish I could find the single serve on the biscuits and gravy. I'm always a day late, dollar short. Every time I go searching for the single serve, they're always sold out. So I always have to get the larger serving. And since it's so good, I will eat pretty much all of that double serving. And then I'm feeling it for the next little while in the morning with that full belly. So do you use decoys or have an opinion? I don't use decoys on a regular basis, but yes, I do use decoys. There's basically 3 decoys that I own. I own the Butthead from Native by Carlton. That one I will basically use if I'm back behind as the collar because I can add movement to it because it has a 3-dimensional head on it. And so when you kind of move that, it gives that 3D head. The other one that I use is the Montana Decoy Rump. On the rump, though, I don't carry the poles. I actually cut a couple of small slits and put some paracord. So that way I can hang it on a branch. So the other one I use is the Stalker, the Cow Elk Stalker decoy from Ultimate Predator Gear. That one has some pretty good versatility because you can actually use the Velcro straps as a handle, or you can attach it on the front of the bow if you're one-on-one. So those would be the decoys that I would recommend. They can be effective adding in setup, especially if you're in more open terrain, because that elk is going to come to a point where he thinks he should be able to see that elk that's making noise, and the decoy just gives that realism. It gives them, oh, hey, there's that elk that I heard. So VC Performance, Hunt Over Bait, Trophy Rock, etc. Unfortunately, baiting for elk is illegal in Idaho, so I have never hunted over bait for elk. So I can't give any recommendations on that one. If you're not using phone, use airplane mode, helps battery. Yeah, actually, when you're in the backcountry, that phone should be on airplane mode anyways. And before you go out, download your maps on X, and your battery life will be great. Lewis, what head are you shooting? Actually, I'm going to shoot 2 heads this year, Lewis. I'm shooting the Q80 Exodus for elk, and I was so impressed with that tooth of the arrow 4-blade that I'm going to shoot that for antelope. So both of them are both 100 grain. They both shoot and perform really, really well. In fact, when I was over there in Wyoming, I was hitting, you guys have seen those nails with those orange plastic tabs, the roofing nails. I was drilling those little dots at 40 yards with both those broadheads. So those are the 2 that I'm shooting. Mr. Ben, how you doing, buddy? All right, I have to go to bed, but this has been awesome. Eric, thanks for tuning in tonight. What is your opinion on the Allen brand broadhead? Raymond, I don't have personal experience with the Allen brand broadhead. Again, just like the Wasp, I'll do some research on it, see what I can find, and get back to you. Maybe if I've got a friend or 2 that shoots that broadhead, maybe I'll see if he'll let me grab one and kind of shoot, and I'll get back to you on that. You need to check out Tooth of the Arrow broadhead. Unbelievably great. Bernie, we've been talking about Tooth of the Arrow. I'm pretty impressed with that head. So sweet info. Glad you like them. Lots of great information. Guys, look at that. We have come to the bottom of both screens. So it's knocking on the time for me to jump off, go say hi to the wife, see how her day was, and get to bed and get up at 3:30 and get to the gym and start this all over. So guys, this has been awesome. Like I said, this was a first test tonight where I was broadcasting both on Facebook and YouTube live at the same time. Definitely, love all the interaction, all the questions. Oh, Curtis, is there a certain weight arrow for elk? Curtis, trying to stay, 500 grains, 5 to 550 is kind of a good range to stay in for elk. I definitely think it's heavy enough that, provides a good punch. Your speed is going to come down a little bit, but your kinetic energy and your forward momentum with that setup is going to really, really be a great combination. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up as always. Appreciate your guys' support. Thanks for tuning in. I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys and your support. Absolutely. So as always, keep calling, keep practicing, but most importantly, guys, have fun. Season's coming quick. I wish you all the best of luck and major success out there. And we will see you guys next week on the next episode of Wapiti Wednesday Q&A. All right, guys, we'll see you later.